Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of Archaeoastronomy from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its makeup has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com for more information. Yes, Royal Family, blessed love, give thanks for your presence with us. We definitely give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Of course, you know what it is all about. Education is the key. And we are highlighting, of course, we're talking about Sunday, the 30th of April. Wait a minute, that's this Sunday. This Sunday, the 30th day of April, year 2023, 3 p.m., we're talking about, again, education is the key. And of course, you would have just witnessed the introduction of our brand new certified ancient astronomy course, which we will be launching this Sunday, 3 p.m. sharp. We're talking about Eastern Caribbean time, Eastern Standard Time. And of course, it will be via the Zoom link up. So you know you got to email us right about now to get your Zoom. If you have not received your Zoom link, now is not the time to procrastinate. Now is not the time to lounge and cool out and you know, cock up your feet and all of that. This is the time to hit the ground running and make sure you contact us. Get your Zoom link for Sunday. Family is going to be a family day, that's for sure. As I said, get the couch, the nice cushy couch, and get all the young ones, you know, invite some friends and invite them over and let them come in and sit in and sup in and you know, feel a good vibes with us. That's what I'm talking about. Remember, we're going to have 3 mighty presentations for you. Of course, the highlight of the day really is our Ancient Astronomy course, the official launching of the Ancient Astronomy course. Definitely, we have been speaking about that for some time. You have already seen previews of it, but this Sunday, I'll be giving a lecture entitled The Rudiments of Ancient Astronomy, giving you a good understanding of what it's really all about. You will, get a good idea of what the course entails, so you would know, make your decision from there. And remember, on that, that day, we're going to have some very special offers. Yeah? So if you want to take advantage of the special offers, make sure you're with us on Sunday. Remember, the admission is fully free. Also, we will be relaunching the International Homeschool program. Of course, we would have been doing this International Homeschool program for some time now, and we have somewhat modified it and have restructured it, as we always do in everything that we do. And we have a brand new international homeschool program there for you, definitely much more friendly and so many different things. You just have to be with us to see what it's all about. And we're going to begin the day with the launching or the premiere, the international premiere, mark you, of the short documentary film Anu, the Ancient City. So make sure you're sitting and supping for that one. So many things are taking place, family. Of course, as I said, interesting picture there. As I said, the Rudiments of Ancient Astronomy. Just visit our website for all the information that you need. Of course, that is priestIsaacInstitute.com. And of course, all the links are in the description below. Now, what I'm going to do at this time, of course, we definitely host a program every Thursday evening entitled Rasta Roundtable. And of course, this Thursday evening was no exception. Now, that's a Radio Anu exclusive program, but from time to time we bring forth, some excerpts of the program or even the whole program for those on this side to get a listen of it. We had a wonderful sit-down previous evening, and we had with us the Rabbi Rastafari Sabbatical himself, Rasiadonis, and himself, and representing the Lion of Judah Society, and Kwami was in the house as well. Of course, many would already know Kwami as well, sitting with us, one of our visitors from time to time on the round table. So basically, myself and those two brothers had a nice, wonderful discourse, somewhat of a continuation of the whole reasoning as it relates to the authenticity of Ethiopia's history, especially as it relates to the church. So I'm going to take you straight into that reasoning. We won't start at the beginning, but of course, I'm going to make sure you get enough juice that will, quench your thirst. Family, remember to contact us to get your Zoom link, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on Sunday. That's we, in a sense, we miss you previous week, man. What's going on? Blessed, my Lord.
Yeah, man. Respect. Greetings to each and everyone.
Yes, and I have Rasiadonis with the Rastafari Sabbatical. He's definitely gracing us with his, his time this evening as well.
Yes, I blessed my Lord.
So even before we hear from the rabbi, since the eye is here, my Lord, you don't know. Last week is you we waited on it. To come and open the back. Everyone, but you had some other things. So in a sense, give thanks that you're here. I would like you to, even to the brethren sitting with us, give us a, because the brethren's previous Isa and Ankoma wanted to continue, especially on that aspect of the Christianity that they were getting into. But if you can give us again, because this is a very important subject, it is actually a new subject to many, and even for my good brethren here, just give us a quick rundown again, your perspective of what's going on with the Ethiopian history, its liturgy, its religion, and what it is that we're getting wrong. It's very important that we get that clear, my Lord.
Yeah, well, greetings. Yeah, my perspective basically, as I said before, look on the different accounts about Christianity entering into Ethiopia. And as man follow the three of them, realistically, the whole account concerning the CMS, the Church Christian Missionary Society, to me stand out as being more real history than tradition, you see. And that history, they started around 1829, with the church as it go into Ethiopia and the different parts of Africa to more or less bring this quote unquote gospel to the heathens, you see, and people who have not yet received the message of Jesus the Christ. So when I look at as I said, the different layers of accounts, I find this one to be much more appealing to eye, you see. And this is just the premise. This is my view. This is the area in which I'm taking it from. Seeing?
But if we can just come really quick, because even from that time when we, not that last program, the one before that, I take my time and kind of look deeper into what you were saying. As I said, the three accounts. The biblical account, just to be clear for the audience too, the biblical account of Acts 8, Philip the eunuch. Then you have the historical account with King Izana and of course the two shipwrecked, who has become the saints. I think it's the first set of saints, Ethiopia.
Yes, Pimentus and his brother.
Yes, they have some new name now.
Abba Salama.
Yes.
Abba Salama.
Mm-hmm. And
that's what we call him.
It's
Frumentius.
Right, but that's the original name. But they have two new names. That two of them begin with A. I think it's Abiha.
Oh no! Oh, you talking about Bretza, Abraha, and Bretza, something like that?
Okay, it's the same brothers, I think.
No, it was two brothers. They had like two brother on the Ethiopian side, if I'm correct. There were two brother kings, and then there were the two shipwrecked Syro-Phoenician boys, so-called.
Okay.
That got shipwrecked, Frumentius and someone else.
So these are not their canonized name. I always thought so. In fact, I think I would have actually read that. Maybe that information was a bit, sometimes you read something a long time ago and somehow you just carry it with you. Sometimes you don't even remember the source, but you just know.
No. Facts. I think about some things I read, or I hear a man say something today, and I'm like, I heard that somewhere. I read that in some Rasta book, and the books are not. To the audience and to the guests right here and to the host, that there's some books I read back in like maybe the late 80s. That's when the Rastafari late 80s, early 90s. And some that I know were published like in England by Rastafari, like who are abroad, like say in England and other places. And these books are not available. And there was a man of mine that did research like us and published their own books. You might remember some of the own books. They wasn't fully copyrighted or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of these sources.
The Lion Prevail and.
Or how about Prince Nazai? I don't know if any of the item are not just old enough, but New Jerusalem schoolroom enough to remember Prince Nazai. It was a brethren that would do research, go to the libraries. They didn't have internet and thing, and do research like we're doing research, and would print their own copy, like and go and photocopy it and fold it over and staple the back and put a cover on it. But those works there, though man didn't have internet and all the social media information going to and fro, Daniel prophecy as we have today, they was so right and accurate with a lot of things. And now there's a new set of historians that have come forward, not from us as Rastafari so much, but out in the world that present a different narrative.
I hear you. So, okay, well, my lord, thanks for coming in there. Now, you've been doing not only just the works, you can preach and you can teach. So I know that you have studied the Ethiopian history to the point that you're versed, I would say, at least more than me, in the language, in the liturgy, because you speak a lot of it. You speak a lot of the Ge'ez and its connection with the Amharic, and you even bring it down to the Kemet and the Medu Neter. So you don't really. We know that when it comes to real history, you have to be studying language as well. So the premise that the brother was putting on the table, again, a very serious conversation, because what he's really saying now is that the coming of Christianity into Ethiopia, according to what he's saying, he actually would move aside the gospel rendition and even the historical rendition, but even that of the missionaries, which was just a few years ago in the time of even Emperor Theodore II, to the point that the argument now is that Ethiopian history as we know it, like for example, from Theodore II coming up to now, and Brother Kwame, I can tell me if I'm off track with this, but from Theodore history coming up to now, basically intact. But a lot of the stuff we get prior to Theodore, some of it is real legend, a lot of it has been plastered together, and a lot of it is just totally, misinformation. And it's coming in with the missionaries. So even when we had that discussion, God, we wanted to know, okay, what you're trying to say is that the Europeans brought in their version of Christianity in the 1800s, or Christianity as we know it today in Ethiopia came in with the missionaries. So I think I'm correct with the brethren's standpoint. So I wanted you to give an outlook on what you think of that, especially as a historian on the Ethiopian history, my lord.
Thank you. What I heard from Kwami, and give thanks, is he was pointing to some of the European white Anglo-Saxon Protestant and European missionaries around the 1800s. That's correct, right? And their accounts. Is that part correct, Brother Kwame?
Yes,
okay.
I.
So they give an account, right? I just asked the Hebrew term is Isha or Eshet, which is for wife or woman, who's like wife. But I often go to the etymology, as the brother mentioned, like if we repoint it in a different dialect, it could be like Aset, Ashet, Eshet. Anyway, I asked her to pass me a book. It's called Roots of Rastafari by Virginia Lee Jacobs. I mentioned this book because this is one of the books I read back in the days. And although it's written by, like I say, a Gentile, one from a nation that's not, I say, Ethiopia or Israel, scripturally black, biblically, it's a very good kind of a summary, and it does make a very interesting comedic connection that I read years ago, and it kind of speaks to what many of us are grasping at now. But just to answer Priest Isaac's question about it, I grabbed the book while you was reading with Brother Kwame, and this is a book that we reprint. It's called The Church History of Ethiopia. It was written in 1696.
Yes.
Right? And this particular book, it accounts, basically, let me sum it up simply. It was, that there was Christians who were breaking away from Rome in Europe, the Protestant Reformation, blah, 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 right? Not to get into detail on that, but just to set the account, right?
Yes.
It says right here that this was written at the time when there were two Roman missions that had entered into the Empire of Ethiopia, right? At one of the first times that they entered in. Let me just read may I just read just the back summary here,
yes,
just to put it into historical context. And this book that we reprinted, the first copy is like printed in that like kind of old English. So like the S's look like F's. I don't know if you've seen that before.
Yes, sir.
It might be a little challenging to read, but they have another version where they kind of converted into the later English kind of fontography. Anyway, this book says it's by Michael Geddes, The Church History of Ethiopia, 1696 AD. We write here on the back notes, it's a rare book and true historical account, among other things, of the two great splendid Roman missions. This is how they describe themselves. Two great splendid Roman missions into that empire. Speaking about what's referred to often as
That's Kwami, I think. Rasiadonis, you're there? Okay, yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you
Okay.
just went over like 5 seconds. The two great Roman Empire and something of the sort.
Oh, okay. This is speaking about the two great splendid Roman missions into that empire being placed in their true light. There are many narratives and stories of both the church history of Ethiopia, past and present, true and false. Huh? What were you listening? You're listening? Oh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, she's right.
Okay, the host says I'm good.
There's a moment, but you're good now. You're perfect now.
Okay. So it says that there's many stories and narratives of the church history of Ethiopia, past and present, true and false, that have been circulated and given credence to, for better and for worse. However, this document, this book here, it testifies to, and here we quote, a church that was never at any time under the papal yoke. I want to make once clear. This is going back to 1696 and it's drawing on Ethiopian documents, their own documents, through the Protestants who were rebelling against the Romans. And they say, wait, we're Protestants, but we find there's this old church, the Ethiopian church, that keeps Sabbath and all these things that Bible talk about, that was never at any time under papal yoke.
Wow.
Right. In other words, it was never under the yoke of Rome. Now, I point out this particular book because this is going to time prior to some of the later Protestant missionaries that went into various parts of Africa as front groups for the enslavers and the colonizers. Many of them didn't do this like with intention. Some probably did, but a lot of them truly believed the gospel and civilizing the heathen, whatever they was talking about, running around Africa. But they were ones who gave the colonizers like information because they could get into the villages, so forth and so on. But what they found that Ethiopia was a whole different set of circumstances vis-a-vis white people's Christianity. I have to emphasize this because this now leads us back to the legends that you mentioned, such as the Ethiopian official. I say official as the translation of Haile Selassie word sound goes about, no doubt you recall reading in Acts of the Apostles of the Ethiopian official.
Okay.
That caught my attention. I said, why did Godamawi Negusa Neges, His Imperial Majesty, Godamawi Negusa Neges, why did he say Ethiopian official and not eunuch? In my linguistic...
You're coming in again now, man. Don't worry. I think it may be some kind of you're with technology, it seems to have a rhythm to it. Yeah, he break out. He's still there, He's not off the grid at all. He's right there. I'm sure he's Isha.
All right, let me see something. How does it sound now?
You're good. You're perfect. I think it's some sort of rhythm. You know how it is with technology. When it is every 3 minutes or something, it gives you that 10 seconds blank. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. So the point I was trying to make about official.
Yes.
Haile Selassie refers to the Ethiopian that's called the eunuch as
an official.
official.
Yes, we got that good, We got you real good.
The official. I point to this is because the term, now this might be, how can I simplify this? This term eunuch, when we think of a eunuch, there's a lot of thoughts. This is not a eunuch debate or whatever, but we should have that discussion because the term eunuch in more African civilizations and more, Eastern and African civilizations, like I'll say Black civilizations, often did not intend anything sexually deviant. Okay. It just meant that either one was born that way, either one was made that way by someone else, or as the Christ says in the translation, it makes himself a eunuch. You know, you can cut off certain things. Like you can eat, but you can cut off eating until you're like one who doesn't eat. You can cut off activities that one is doing. But Haile Selassie refers to him as official because the eunuch is a mistranslation. In other words, a eunuch.
So I know you don't want to make it a eunuch debate, but just for my curiosity, you think it may be a monk?
Huh?
You think he may be a monk and just eunuch is a symbolic way of saying it? Since you said cut off things.
Okay, here's the interesting thing.
Yes,
the term in the Amharic and the Hebrew Bibles, right, often for eunuch, right? You remember in the story, they tell us of Joseph, and when Joseph was in Egypt, allegedly, and he had a master, and his master's wife was pushing up on him. You remember that? The term that it describes the Egyptian Potiphar,
yes,
as Saris, is elsewhere translated as eunuch, but in some places translated as official. So here's my question. If he's a eunuch in the way people think that Potiphar was a eunuch, how did he have a wife? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the term eunuch is not always, some things get lost in translation. So when His Majesty said the Ethiopian official, that this eunuch status was that he was an official. Not that he was a eunuch as though there was something wrong with his gender, as people commonly believe. I say this because of now researching the linguistics and recognizing that some things in European translation, though he translated a lot of things, he also inserted some of his ignorance, bias, or bias. In some cases, a lot of things he gets from the Europeans.
I read him again, Kwami.
Yeah.
The King job is on good, some good nutrition there, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it went out again?
Yeah, he do the same thing.
Yeah, it went out again, yeah.
It seemed like a timing, honestly. I got to time it and see it. But good,
was every 2-3 minutes or something?
Yeah, something like that. But it's not a lot it missing. So we write with you. You don't have to worry.
Okay, come call on this phone right here. Perhaps maybe if there's another time, I'll try another device. Okay. But my point is not to belabor the point, but more or less is to point out that Ethiopia's so-called, okay, when you say Christianity, in Amharic, we say Christina, right? The word Christos, right, as it comes from the Greek. I know there's the whole Karas thing, but the Karas thing I think is poor etymology, and hopefully we can touch on that as well. But Christina is the way that the Ethiopians refer to in Amharic to Christianity. What it means is an anointing, being in the anointing. What I'm trying to get out here is that there's a different concept from Christianity as we know it from the Romans and Europeans in this institutional thing to what we call Christianity in the sense of Ethiopia. I've heard that some say Azana was punked by the Greeks or the Romans or somebody to become Christian and force the people to Christian. I wonder where this sort of pseudo history really comes from. You know what I mean? I call it pseudo history because if one's really go into a deeper research of things, one would recognize that many things become indigenous. You can't force a people to become a religion unless the people are already inclined to something. If you understand what I'm saying. I mean, we're talking about African peoples and ancient peoples. So when Azana, a so-called story of Azana becoming the first like Christian or becoming, what did he actually do? He actually made Christianity or the Christian belief the state religion in a sense. It's like when a pharaoh came into ancient Egypt, like when a pharaoh, I use the term pharaoh, I'm using the basic term, not Sutenet, Sutenbet, I'm not using those terms right now, but when a ruler came into ancient Tawi, the two lands called Kemet, when he came in, he brought in his denomination. The ancient Egyptians didn't only have one particular denomination. If you understand what I'm saying. Yes. It's like Christians, they have Pentecostal, Methodist, Baptist, this to this, Jehovah Witness. You know what I'm saying? There's different. You know what I'm saying? There's different, but it's all part of the same thing. If you understand what I'm saying. So there was already the movement of.
Oh,
Yeah, he's going off.
I'm gonna ask him. We can try next device with you. So maybe you can try next phone. But let me wait till he come in and we reason that out. Because I see that gonna always be a hitch. 3, 2, 1, 0. I was trying to count there to see if he come in. But no, what I got even from the king there is that, well, he made a statement there that I laughed when he said that's pseudo history. So I'm trying to work out, okay, how the king look at it, because I'm not, getting more, as a person that does be looking at the precise history, even if it's 10,000 years ago, let me see how precise we can get it. So, he's speaking of the Ethiopian official. He kind of brushing aside the eye theory of the 1800s, although he said, well, he can see that took place, but he gave an account, a nice account, 200 years before that, of the Roman Empire. Say no,
1600, yeah.
1600 saying, well, listen, man, them people here never was under the rule of nobody, as I guess Christians or Christiana, as he said a moment ago. Yeah, so
I'm talking over here, but I'm not being heard. Yeah. You there? Are you hearing?
I hear you, but that gap was much longer now. I was saying, maybe if you do have another device, maybe you could try that one and see what happens.
Yeah. I'm about to go to this other device right now, and I'm gonna call on that because
you could even try
I hear some.
You don't even have to come. You could try it and make sure you come on and then come off of this, and don't
Okay, let me.
Because what I was saying, you can do that and listen while because what I was just telling Kwami, and I would like to hear what I'm getting the impression that it is a very deep conversation, I mean, in fact, the only reason it's really continuing, is because the brethren them always find the next chapter to go into, really. And tonight it's kind of gone back to a summary as if we start over again, but it's good. It's good because now, before we even go into the monarchy and Emperor Theodos and all of these things, because I would have some simple questions which I had before, like who would have been Lalibela, and what about when Dawit and Philadases and these Ethiopian kings, if that's the right pronunciation, ran out the Jesuits and these ones. But even before we go there, I was saying,
brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm calling in. I don't know if you have to accept the call. I'm calling in on another device.
Yeah, it should be.
I don't know if you can see it.
I'm not seeing it showing up yet. Maybe it will soon show up.
Okay. I don't know. Like, how's this working? Is this working through the phone or through the net?
Whatever
Is
link
this working through the phone?
The link that you got to come in with this same one here. All you have to do is well, you see, I didn't send it to you directly. The Honorable Empress would have sent it to you, but however she would have sent it to you, if you could just duplicate it on the next device and just
I have it on the next device. I have it. I'm calling in. I went through all the prompts, and it says waiting for the answer. It says waiting for the answer.
I'm not seeing it showing up. Okay, tell you what.
You know what?
I'm going to exit.
I'll call in. Okay, X me out of that.
And then
I'll call in.
Call again and let's see what happens. All right. Okay, good. All right, bam. All right. Oh, he dropped out there. I saw him coming in there. Okay, here it is. All right. Okay, brother. I think I have you there.
All right. I'm in.
All right. So what I was saying now, I'm getting the impression that you're more, from your perspective, you are more leaning to the account given in Acts, more so than even the historical account of Isana even though ones would argue that you have that's one of the points that even Uncle Madrid was giving, that Izana, you have the coins where we have archaeological evidence that there was a time when the coin had on the crescent moon and the sun, and then after the conversion you had the cross come in. So I'm just trying to see if you were saying, especially through we were breaking in and breaking out, that you see the origin of the Christiana from the story given in the book of Acts, especially since you referred to Izana's story as pseudo history, and you did refer to the Acts one as legend too. So, because I'm listening good.
To the Xana point, I don't know if this is much stronger. Not to cut over you.
No,
you
you're
my
good,
brother.
and then after I'll make Rascal my comment.
To the Xana story, because one was cutting in and out, I could hear the item talking to each other, and even my wife was saying that it couldn't be heard. I think she's listening in the Queen's chamber, you know?
Yes.
So here, Xana, the part I said about pseudo history is that Xana was forced by some Romans or Greeks, that he was forced. I've heard certain man reason. I don't know exactly which man had reason on a couple of platforms out there, not to name other people's platforms right now, but, among Rastafari, about a reinterpretation of the Xana story, that his conversion was not so much out of a religious or spiritual ascension, but was more out of a fear of the Greeks or the Romans forcing him. I think at the time it was really the Greeks that were on the scene. So I said that part was pseudo. It's pseudo to say that he like made Ethiopia Christian. No, it became the official religion. Okay, and I tried to make a comparison with ancient rulers of even Kemet. Am I still being heard?
Perfect. Yep. I get you much better.
Yeah. Of ancient Kemet, that when a ruler came in, if he worshipped the Trinity that was in this nome or that nome, the different precincts or different districts, that's where those priests would be his officiating priests, and the state will be under that, we could say, denomination. So in the same sense, there were people who had different faiths, and there were people who already were of what we could say is the Christian or the Christiana faith there, but it was not Xana and his household. It's like Joshua in the Bible. He says, for me and my household, we will worship Yahweh Elohim, the Elohim of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But y'all could do whatever y'all want to do. Right. But in this case, it was the people that there was already but it was not.
Yeah. This one they have going in and out now. Okay. And now you're totally gone. All right. Yeah, family, you got to forgive us for these inconveniences here at times. Very nice discussion. Give thanks for Rastafari sabbatical with us, which is the man Rasiadonis. Yes, Kwami, what do you have to say about all of that? Let me make the eye come in. You have to go and pick up somewhere. Because a lot has been said. The king actually drop out there. He actually drop out this time. Yeah.
Yes, we're back in on.
Yeah. Not you. I say he actually he's not there.
Okay.
I'm saying pick up something I just put it on your, because a lot has been said.
Yeah.
So you have to go.
There's a lot have been said. Well, when I look at the history that speak of the Christianity in Ethiopia, and they had like the 16th century and so on, and they had temples and so on. Okay, let's go back to the early 4th century, to the time of Arius, and the argument that he was making just before the commencement of the first conference. Yes,
Yeah, you're there. I hear a little squeaking in the background. I don't know if it's the radio or... Yeah. I could hear it kind of coming through. kind of sharp on our end. But you sounding good, you know. You personally sounding
You can hear
good.
me? You can hear me? You hear me
Clear,
good,
clear,
please,
clear.
Isaac?
I hear you good. When I hear me, I hear you perfect, you know, King.
You still hear him?
Perfect. Go on, that. No, it stopped now. It stopped now. It stopped now.
Okay.
Yeah, but go through. Yeah.
So as me say now,
Areas.
going back to the early 4th century and Arius, and just before the approaching first conference of Nicaea, right? You had a split within the communities
Yes.
over the icon of Serapis, right? A lot of historians would say that Ethiopia was a part of that, the monocyfic group that hold that icon Serapis was more or less just had a spiritual nature and not a human nature, because it wasn't a human. As the I know, I do not believe in a physical Jesus Christ. So from that perspective, Ethiopia may have had some form of a monocyfic tradition, culture grooming and blooming in it. But when you talk about Christianity, in addition to the New Testament that really solidify Christianity, you see, the New Testament to I is a 16th century document produced by the Desiderius Erasmus, as I've said a countless of times before.
That's right.
And the various books that the formulation, the formula that it comes with, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and so on, is just a new document. So when you talk, if you're going to talk about Christianity with that, you know, to me that's tradition entering into Ethiopia before, you know, Desiderius Erasmus. To Ayman, that is tradition. So when I look at the Church Mission Society after, you know, Europe have come of age and, you know, started to preach the gospel into different places, to Ayman, this is the gospel that they have formulated with the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and so on, and brought into the various countries across Africa and other places. I see that's the time that, you know, that these doctrines and so on started to seep into Ethiopia. Other than that, is just traditions to Ayman.
You think, just a quick question, you feel it's a hard blow? I kind of, let me put it this way. You think it's a little low blow to say Ethiopians were arguing with the Romans over the divinity of Serapis? I just ask.
If it's a low blow?
No, I'm asking you if you think, okay, I never hear it quite that way. Okay, yeah, we always
No, they were part of, a lot of people would say that they were part of the various communities that were at the various conferences.
I agree.
Conference of Nicaea, Conference of Chalcedon, Ephesus, and so on.
Right.
You see, so they were part of the building block. They contributed to the theological argument at that time.
Right.
But at that time, you didn't have the formula put together as it has in the 15th, 16th century. You see, it was all about Serapis. So if there were anything about a tradition of quote unquote Christianity, it would have been over
Serapis.
Around the whole aspect of Serapis and not Jesus the Christ. You see?
Okay. So
I don't know if you get.
No, I get you, man, of course, but as I say, you know, because it would be okay. We know the history for sure. Nobody's, well, I wouldn't say nobody, but we understand how the Greeks come and merge a different ideology and create the Serapis character. Okay, we know that. how you putting it to I now is that's the same emblem that they brought into the Nicene Conference. But what I'm saying now, like for example, Arius there.
Yes.
Yeah, when Arius stood up against them, I don't think Arius was arguing over which Serapis was the right Serapis. I think he was saying, hey, this Serapis thing that you have is deviating from the tradition, I guess, you come and meet us with. Isn't it that this?
Well, yes.
That's
the crux of it. That's the basic of his argument.
But listen, before you say that, but isn't it the same thing now happened in 451 AD at the Nicene Council? Not the Nicene, at the Council of Chaldean, when Ethiopia say, hey, listen, we're not going to deal with you, because what the thing is, diaphysite and monophysite. Was it over the nature of Serapis, or was it that Serapis had a diophysite nature, and the Ethiopians were saying, look, this let me just use this term, the charist figure that we know from long time have a monophysite nature.
Monophysite nature, yes,
right. So believe it's more, because this is why I say no. If a Rasta man here say, boy, the Ethiopians and the Europeans at the Nicene Council was reasoning over, the concept of Serapis. So one might say, what? No, man, the Ethiopians never deal with no Serapis. Constantine. That's almost like, can remember Constantine, they say took the Sol Invictus sun worship and morphed it into all of that. So that means if the Ethiopians were there, they would have been partaking, I guess, into that. Or was it maybe a battle against the two intellects more than what we really picking up even in this time? I'm just looking at it, from all different angles, really. And Rasiadonis is with us again. But you go to Kwami, if you want to respond to what I just said.
Yes, we're here, Ras.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a very interesting discussion. You said 16. You said 16. When you said 16th century, do you really mean 16th century AD?
Yes,
I just want to get the date. Right. Well, that's too late for anything.
The New Testament?
Yeah. That's too late. I've seen manuscripts and even have manuscripts that are dated from Ethiopian sources with New Testament writings earlier than that. So maybe the European had their version. The European does his version. We can see what he's done with, or he's tried to do with Rastafari. You know what I mean? Do his own version. But the point that Priest Isaac, that you make right there, the Ethiopians referred to it as Miaphysitism. And it wasn't the Ethiopians arguing, it was the Coptic Church and Athanasius and others that were arguing. I don't know if you could hear that particular point right there.
Yeah, you clear. Yes, everyone clear now, Clear, and I get your point. I hear your point and see your point.
There's a very important book that I think every one of us, as not just Rastafari, but anyone interested in a more true and factually based Christian and Ethiopia religious heritage document is Abuna Yitzhak, or the one they call Archbishop Yitzhak. The book he did, Ethiopian Tewahedo Church, an integrally African church. Because what he does is he goes into many of the Ethiopian records and sources, and they do have records and sources that are pretty old, and some of them very old, some that have not even left the country, but many which have been translated. So we're looking at a lot of times is the Europeans translating Ethiopian sources, and some of those things I've gone over and they're correct, and some things I've gone over and find out that for whatever reason, ignorance.
It's happening again. I wonder why this thing. Maybe have a thing they call Ethernet. So when you're linking in from certain places in the world, you got to have an Ethernet than the regular internet. I don't know if that is the case. But I mean, the point you make there, I think that came up in the reasoning that I don't know if I was here when we talk about the codex, Oh my, that the Greek Codex there, man, that they say is the oldest complete Bible in the world. And that's they did 1,000. I don't think it's the Leningrad Codex, but that as well is one of the oldest complete Bible in the world too. I think it's the Sinaiticus. Yes. And that as well, that's about, I think that's a long time. And more than 1600 AD. You know, not that Babylon don't lie and so, but I'm just showing you what history as such, what contemporary history, accepted history is telling us. So it goes deep. I was going to ask the king about the story of the Ethiopian saint that translated the New Testament from another writing, as you said the other time, might be Syriac, which I would more.
Syriac. Yeah, I heard about that, and I think that was written by the same Bishop Athanasius. That was brought forward by him according to that history.
Right. The king coming. So I believe you were hearing us. Right? I believe you were hearing us when you cut out.
Yeah. No, I heard everything. I could hear when you were speaking to the audience and talking about the Ethernet. And
so
yeah.
You're not either. So yeah.
I'm just calling on this phone. I can hear you perfectly. I can hear everything clearly. I don't know at what point. I can hear when it goes out when you read, when I hear you talk, and I can recognize all of that, what I'm saying is not being heard.
Yeah.
But
the
translation. Yeah, on the translations, there was 9 saints that came from Syria that spoke Syriac. Some say Syriac, a more Eastern Semitic kind of a language, and they came into Ethiopia, right? 9 of them. They went to different parts of Ethiopia, but they also brought both the Syriac, which is more like a Aramaic linked language, as well as Septuagint. So they didn't have just one sort of scripture. So Ethiopian ancient history doesn't just comprise one perspective. So I thought it was a brilliant thing you said about the argument between the Diosophites and the Monophysites. But then Archbishop Yitzhak said that more correctly, Ethiopia's Miaphysitis is spelled a little different. And not to get into technical terms, this is more in line with even when we understand what it means, what we would say is a true spirituality. As the brother said, not looking just at the physical, Jesus Christ or Jesus Christos. But even the Bible, if you read it correctly, it goes beyond the flesh, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? In that transcendence that, in other words, like Christ is in each of us. That's why they call them Christians.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? At Antioch, because when they met a Christian, it's like I and I. Many Rasta man used to say, Rasta, where's your God? I learned this from the elder. When they ask that about where's Haile, he's an I. You have any question for Haile Selassie, you ask I. You know what I mean? So, and that's how the Christians were, the original Nazarenes. The Nazarenes were before they were called Christians by other people. But here's the thing too. When you talk about the Ethiopians went in and argued with the Romans. You have to remember there's a difference between Byzantium and Rome. I believe they've confused Constantine. There's a lot of confusion in Constantine because Ethiopians have old records concerning Constantine, and there's a difference of narrative. So I'm forced to say, is the Ethiopians lying and the Romans correct? You know what I mean? Or are the Ethiopians telling the truth and the Romans lying? I don't know if I can still be heard right there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the IDM really, it got what I was saying when I put forward that the Ethiopians and them was a part of the argument. They was a part of the theological discussion. You know what I'm saying? Because when you look from the first conference of Nicaea all the way up to Chalcedon and past that, you can see that there's a progression. There's an evolution in theology based on Serapis the Christ. So, of course, the various countries that were a part of Byzantium or Constantinople, they had their own view and perspective on the matter. So Ethiopia was a part of that theological discussion. You see what I say?
Okay. No, I agree with you. But was not a major, more of the Coptic Church and Athanasius group took the lead, you could say, in the actual discussions. But what Ethiopia did is that Ethiopia, because it was isolated from even Egypt up in the north, it formed its own, you could say, ideas. That's what we call Tawahido. It formed its own ideas. And one thing I want to say is that when we study Tawahido, don't look at the church today. I tell everyone this. The church since 1975 to the present day is a mix of good and bad. But if we look at the history before, we can get a truer kind of a context. I find it's more black, like prior to, 1974, 75, and also the theology is more indigenous to the Ethiopians, looking at the scriptures, living the life, and writing and articulating their own ideas that favor more the Coptic, perspective. The Oriental Church perspective. But Ethiopia, I have to say this, always thought for herself. So I find it interesting the reasoning you're presenting here, that Ethiopia was a part of it, but there were other players that were taking a major role in the argument, and Ethiopia was siding with the party that they thought was more correct, according to her own understanding. But then later on, remember, Ethiopia pulled out, I think, after Chalcedon. Yep. Remember Chalcedon, I think, they were like, enough of this. It's all the Serapis thing. I'm not saying that Serapis wasn't an idea, because I do understand from the Serapis thing. But can we, did Serapis overtly come into the argument, that they had, or was Serapis the idea that was in?
But I see just like he clipped there, but that's a good question.
He was about to ask a key question there.
Yeah, but I think I get the question. That's a very, very good question. In a sense, maybe I had to give a longer version of the question there. So what do you think about that? I mean, okay, from my outlook,
I think Serapis was the object of all these theological discussions, you see. From Arius making the statement, because you're looking at, as I said, the evolution of time, and you it's like more like you're building upon your theology and your perspective based on, your objective or your object, which was Serapis. You see, the way how I look at it is that is after maybe the conference of Ephesus or Chalcedon is when the switch was made from Serapis to to Jesus or Jesus or Isis or whatever.
All right, Jesus, pardon me there. Yes, family, give thanks to the life given, the keeper of life. As I said, for those who may be just coming into, we were just sharing an excerpt of our Thursday evening program, Rasta Roundtable. And of course, that evening, we had the Honorable, the Rabbi himself, Rastafari Sabbatical, Rasiadonis, and we had Brother Kwami with us as well, sitting in. And we had a beautiful discussion. Obviously, that's not the ending of the discussion. Of course, the good rabbi came in again, and we went on and went on and went on. It usually goes for an hour and a half, sometimes even 2 hours. But family, as I said, that's an exclusive Radio Anno program. And once you tune into Radio Anno, I'm sure you would come across that program there. Just visit our website, priestIsaacInstitute.com. The link is in the description below, priestIsaacInstitute.com. And of course, make sure that you have yourself in order. For Sunday, we are officially launching the Certified Ancient Astronomy Course. And family, this is a course that yourself and even your young ones, as far as the teenagers and the young adults and anyone thereof, should be a part of this course. So I'm looking forward to your presence on Sunday, and I would, as they say, leave you with this. Blessed love. Blessed love. I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its makeup has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more information.